What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Thank you so much for watching. There is a very interesting topic that I want to get into. You see it in the lower thirds. Devin Booker, should he truly want out of Phoenix? Let's talk about it next.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show. Go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, guys? Welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. Thank you so much for watching. We have a lot of things to get into, so let's just jump into it really quickly. If you guys want to follow me on all social media platforms, you can do at Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and potentially even tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show. All right, let's start here, guys. I have a very interesting topic for you guys this morning, and it's something we are going to talk about on Locked On Suns later this week, even more so. But there's this idea that Devin Booker, to some, maybe the casual fan, maybe even some Suns fans, that he's a dead man walking, meaning his time with the Phoenix Suns is coming to an end. And I've been one of the few people vehemently against this. I've been one of the few people arguing consistently trading Devin Booker is nonsense. There is no hypothetical situation, realistically, where trading him is the best thing to do for the Suns team. I can't remember a lot of teams outside of maybe the Oklahoma City Thunder that traded an elite player like Paul George and then somehow got a guy back who's tenfold better in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But there's this idea, because the Suns are having a miserable season, just a miserable season. There's no way around it. It is the worst Suns season that I have been a part of. Last year, this wasn't the case. We actually had a lot of hope going into that first-round playoff series against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the year before that, I thought that they were going to beat the Nuggets in a 7-game set. And I still contest, if Chris Paul was healthy, that they would have won that. But that didn't happen. Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton both got injured. You know, that DeAndre Ayton thing, side tangent, is always very funny to see fans clamoring to bring him back or getting upset that it's ridiculous that the Suns traded him. And then you watch that Nuggets series. He bowed out. He was not aggressive. There was a viral clip of him watching 4 players fight for a rebound while he just stood there. But still, sometimes people argue that they want him back. And now you have this ridiculous idea. Just a ridiculous idea. And I appreciate everyone in the chat. Michael, King Nacho, Sandman. You have this crazy idea that Devin Booker should want to trade. And my argument has always been, why? I apologize, guys. I had to sneeze there for a second, which we all do. But you have this crazy idea that the Suns should move on from Devin Booker. That's the only way this team could get better. And I'm not saying it's even the people in the chat this morning, but it is people out there. That's kind of a growing minority right now. But then there's this growing, even smaller minority that I want to squash. And it comes from yesterday, Stephen A. Smith, who I'm not even going to play it because I think he has become largely nonsensical. His arguments just don't make any sense these days. I apologize, guys. I'm fighting a bit of a cold this morning. But this idea that Devin Booker should want out of Phoenix. And Stephen A. Smith basically said this yesterday to the point of, when is he going to ask out of Phoenix? This is something he should do. And my argument has always been, why? And then you have dumb fans out there who I don't even really think I consider them fans. Devin Booker should leave Phoenix. I mean, he's never going to win here. Okay. Where's he going to go and win? Oh, you want him to go to the Pistons? Oh, that's a very prestigious organization. Yeah, they win all the time. Yeah, they got, Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey. Yeah, Devin Booker to that mix. Oh, they're definitely going to win a championship. I once saw a tweet the other day from an account that I frequently argue with on social media, which I love doing. I think at this point I will argue. Not necessarily argue, but I will have a spirited debate. I never go after people for their beliefs, especially for something as silly as basketball. But there's this idea, oh man, Booker should get traded, or Booker should ask for a trade. Because going to the Pistons makes sense. That's a prestigious organization. They win all the time, he said sarcastically. Oh, the Rockets, who haven't been to a Western Conference Finals in 10 years? Outside of that James Harden run, where were they before that? The only team that would make sense for Devin Booker, the only teams that would make sense for Devin Booker, don't need him. The Oklahoma City Thunder are just going to trade for Devin Booker. They already have him. His name's Jalen Williams. And then they have to give up more assets on top of Jalen Williams to go get him. I don't get it. I don't get this idea that Devin Booker should just want out. The grass is not always greener. The Phoenix Suns are a pretty prestigious organization, and have been largely competent for a lot of my life outside of that decade run where it was just miserable. But they've had years where they went to the finals. I'm talking about the Charles Barkley years, and they go ahead and get players on this team like Nash, Amari, Marion, and then what happens then? They go to multiple Western Conference Finals appearances. This idea that the Suns are just an incompetent organization is nonsense. And that Booker should just want out. Also, do you know what happens when star players want out? When star players want to go somewhere else? The opposing team that trades for him has to give up loads of assets, including players and a historic amount of picks, given Devin Booker's age. You know what happens when you do that? You tend to become the Phoenix Suns. You give up every forward you have, every pick you have, and you bring in a guy like Kevin Durant, who you're ecstatic to be here. And what happens? You have a depleted roster who can't figure things out. So whenever people are talking about Devin Booker and his ability to flex his muscles out of here, my question is why? Phoenix is a good place to be. Matt Ishbia is a great owner, regardless of what some people think. But going to the Rockets isn't just a free pass for a championship. Donovan Mitchell going to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'd mentioned I argue with that account sometimes. Look at Donovan Mitchell. He went from the Jazz, realized he can't win there, and goes to the Cavaliers. Okay, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes in the playoffs this year. Because the Celtics are still really good. So, I don't buy into it. And I don't subscribe into it. That Devin Booker should want out because that is what's best for his career. Because I can cite player after player. Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant. Players that get traded. And the opposing team that's trading for him has to give up the farm. and they never win anything. Because the team that they're going to is then depleted. Phoenix is in a rough spot right now. But they've got a couple of young players that are playing well. They've got an asset in Kevin Durant that they can trade for a boatload of picks and players. And they can get this ship back on track faster than you think. Championship contender? No. That ship has sailed for the next 2 to 3 years. But competent and fun to watch? Yeah. I do think that this is the best place for Devin Booker still. And I think he's a smart player that has consistently shown why he doesn't want out. Because he knows he can build here. And Ishbia will do everything he can to put players around him. So, I think it's nonsense. I think it's absolute nonsense. I didn't want you guys to see me this morning having a spaz attack with my horrendous allergies going on this morning. So let's go here. Yesterday, my good friends, Johnny Venerable and Bo Brock, did a 30-minute long interview with Jonathan Gannon. And before I talk about the things that Jonathan Gannon spoke about in that interview with Johnny and Bo, I just got to say this. Watching a long-form interview with Jonathan Gannon, it makes me feel like an idiot for some of the things that I've talked about this year. Some of the things that I've talked about in the offseason. Now, I'm going to continue to explore every avenue. I'm not going to sit on a bench and just let everyone else have the fun of conspiratizing on the Arizona Cardinals offseason and what Jonathan Gannon, his future could look like in Phoenix. But I've got to be honest with you guys. I watched that 30-minute long interview on PHNX Cardinals with Bo and Johnny. Everything Jonathan Gannon says just makes sense. And you look at, and we talked about this briefly, but last week I wasn't on the air last Thursday to talk about the Cardinals report card. And I don't really like to go back too far with news, but yesterday I kind of talked about it briefly. What I didn't talk about is one person did particularly well on that report card, and it was Jonathan Gannon. He got an A-. Pretty good. And it just goes to show you, when you watch that interview, you understand why players buy into him. Everything he says makes sense. He is a leader of this team that the Cardinals haven't had since Bruce Arians. And it's just shocking to me that at this point, he's still able to sell people, especially after a second half of the season that wasn't great. Fighting for my life here this morning, guys. But the Jonathan Gannon stuff continues to be mesmerizing to me. His ability to lead a room and to get guys like me to continuously believe and subscribe into what he's selling. It is truly impressive. Everything he said yesterday, you're just like, man, that makes a lot of sense. And then it was the other thing that he had talked about yesterday. And that being of one, Kyler Murray. He sold me on Kyler like no one else can. I've done video after video, interview after interview, whether it was at the Super Bowl, whether it was right here. Man, is Kyler Murray going to work out? Jonathan Gannon's so calm, cool, and collected about it. And he makes you believe, you know what? I got to give this guy another chance. He mentioned he's going to have a hell of a season next year. And you're like, yeah, he probably is. Because that's the leader that the Arizona Cardinals need. My idea, my thoughts of defensive head coach, and let's just be honest, my prejudice against defensive head coaches. I'm not sure you can win a Super Bowl with a defensive head coach. You hear Jonathan Gannon talk, and he explains the importance of explosive plays, taking shots downfield. He doesn't sound like your typical defensive head coach. And that's why I would say for everyone, it's a must listen. I'm not the type of person where I want to just go consistently shoo people away from my channel and go watch other people's content. Now, it's different with Bo and Johnny because I know both of them personally. They're both really good dudes. They've came on this show before. Bo is, been really good to me. Johnny's a very good guy as well. And you watch that interview and you're like, yeah, you got to go check that out. You got to go check out that interview. I thought about just taking snippets of it and playing it on here just briefly. But I was like, no, it doesn't have the same effect. And when Jonathan Gannon speaks, I listen. And his ability to sell me on Kyler Murray, that he's going to have a hell of a season, I'm like, man, what do I talk about for the next 4 months? People oftentimes get upset with me because I talk about what he could be and if this should be Kyler Murray's last potential year as the Cardinals quarterback. Or I dive deep into Kyler's career. And then I feel stupid when I hear Jonathan Gannon talk about it because he's so confident. Either he's a really good liar, a BS artist, or he knows something that we don't know. And then it was the other thing that really stuck out to me in this interview. I came out with a blowtorch yesterday talking about Michael Bidwell and his commitment to this organization, his commitment to winning. Jonathan Gannon was like, yep, haven't had that problem. And I kind of believe him. And it makes me feel like, well, someone's wrong here. Because the Cardinals are 32nd in their team report cards as a whole, and a lot of that has to do with ownership things. And then Jonathan Gannon's on the other side basically talking about, no, he's given me everything I've needed and more. And then you just sit there and you're like, maybe Michael Bidwell's awesome. And I'm not sure who I believe in that aspect, but a review of that interview, which you don't get a lot of with head coaches, especially what I thought were hard-hitting questions from Johnny and Bo, those are the type of things you need to continue to see from your head coach who has shown that he's a leader. And you see that he gets an A+ grade, or an A- grade from the team report card. You see all the issues with the Cardinals team report card. And it's F, 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 A-, F, 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 F. Treatment of families, F. Training room, F. Everything is an F. Jonathan Gannon gets an A. And you watch that one interview, and you're like, yeah, I get it. I see why players love him. And I see if there's ever going to be a quarterback, head coach, defensive head coach combination. So Jonathan Gannon, a defensive head coach, and a elite quarterback. I don't know if it's Kyler. I have my doubts, but someone else down the line. You're like, yeah. I kind of believe it's going to work out. So, with that being said, Jonathan Gannon continues to show me why this should not be a make or break year for him. It is hard to find a leader in all things sports. And what Jonathan Gannon has continued to show is not only is he a leader, but the players buy into it. And sometimes I worry if they're going to continue to subscribe to what he's preaching. And then I hear it and I'm like, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Guys, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm starting to have a sneeze attack and runny nose attack on the air. So I'm going to cut this a little bit short today, but I appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. If there's other things you want to hear me talk about, leave it in the comment section below. Let me know. I would love to continue to talk about those things. I'm going to be honest with you. I will keep you guys up to date if there will be a show tomorrow morning. I'll be at the Arizona Cardinals. I'll be at the Phoenix Suns game tonight, which is like an 8:30 tip. and then being up early, it's all tough. And of course, I'm fighting for my life over here. I've got some other issues medically that I'm fine. I'm not going anywhere. I'm perfectly fine. But that are just making it harder to get this done in the morning. But either way, would likely be back on Thursday. Appreciate you guys making me a part of your day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about the Ben Garcia Show, and I'll see you guys potentially tomorrow, definitely on Thursday.